Set your butane torches to high and your expectations to low. Coming to you live from Just the Tip Cigars in the hills of the Steel City. Get ready to get your fix. This is the Cigar Junkies Podcast.
Welcome to the Cigar Junkies Podcast,
A cigar show for the community by the community.
a forum to talk stogies, booze, food, and anything else in cigar lifestyle.
If you're looking for ratings, negativity, reviews, or an authority on all things cigars, you came to the wrong place.
Whether you like what you hear or not, please join the conversation and let us know by finding us at the Cigar Junkies Facebook group.
Or emailing us at thecigarjunkies@gmail.com.
What's up, junkies?
I'm Corey,
I'm Sam.
and we're the Cigar Junkies. And if you're hanging out with us, that means you are too. And you know what that means? You have a responsibility. A responsibility to like, subscribe, share every platform. Leave them comments. Do what Troy Harper does. Interact. Let us know how you feel. Unless you don't like us, in which case, shut up.
Yeah,
Right?
I mean,
you know what I mean?
they don't have to shut up, but just keep it friendly.
They could shut up. I do like this camera view. I'm going to just a little bit back.
Feel better?
Yeah, it was starting to droop. But here's what's nice. When you look down and we get the that angle, you look just like your logo.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope it looks like my logo.
similarities
That's
are
what
remarkable.
my logo is.
Although, if we
Hey.
really want it to look like your logo, we should go back to the lower thing so you have the giant hands again.
So
Because
that was
of the glove.
My dad had this point of contention with my logo originally. He's like, the glove, it just doesn't look real how big the glove is. I'm like, Dad, that's a picture of me that we digitized. Like it's we didn't change the rate, we didn't make the glove, we didn't all that. And he's like, oh. I'm like, yeah, I just have big hands. Like I don't know what to tell you.
I got big hands and I cannot lie. Y'all others can't deny.
So what's going on, man?
I don't know, man. We got no Jason, right? 'Cause
Right.
I'm sitting over on this side.
You get hung up at work, I guess.
Yeah, it wasn't. He said he had a rough night, and originally I was thinking, oh no, please no more personal tragedies.
Right.
But then I contemplated the time in which that he sent the message.
Yeah.
And it was when he was getting off of work.
Yeah.
And so essentially, he probably looked at the clock and was like, I don't think I can stay awake 3 more hours after doing a 12-hour shift to come do this show.
Yeah, and then go back to work.
Because he has to do it again tonight.
Yeah.
So I think that's why he bailed, which is fine, man. Like, I respect it.
Yeah, same thing. I looked at it this morning when I woke up, and I was like, yeah, 6:03 a.m., Jay's awake. Yeah.
Well, this is episode 133. And it's funny how at this point, it used to be, no, we got to do it. And now, like, I'll be like, hey, guys, I don't think we're going to do one. And everyone's like, yes.
It's his
You know,
time.
we need a little bit of time off.
Yeah,
every
it
once in a
happens
while.
here and there.
Jason gets plenty of it though. He's doing just fine.
Yeah, but not for any like fun reasons. He just keeps getting
For the most part, right?
gut punched.
And I mean, to his credit, he's not integral. That stuff runs smooth without him.
Yeah,
Smoother.
Works both ways.
Could be, you know.
Some days yes, some days no.
There's advantageous things about having him here,
Yeah.
and then there's other things, you know.
Yeah.
But particularly today, like, I had not really, I wouldn't describe it as technical difficulties, right? It was, but it wasn't. It wasn't like something to be figured out. The computer just did not seem to want to
Just didn't want to do
cooperate
it today. Yep.
to add extra. Like, if I wanted to baseline it, like, I was ready to go live at 10 after 9. I had the live build. Everything was ready. All I had to do was hit the button. And then I was like, oh, okay, I've got these flyers that I made for my upcoming Strum Junkie shows. And I was like, okay, like, maybe I'll drop these in here so that I could pull them up when I talk about them later.
Yeah.
And that was when the computer was like, nope, you're asking too much.
No thanks. Yeah.
And I was like, okay, let's restart the PC. And I did find something very handy. Jason won't listen to this, but he should. Because if you close the computer and you had the live set up already, if you open your previously closed tabs in Google Chrome,
It popped back up.
it's right ready to go again. And I was like, hell yeah. All I had
Restores
to
it.
do was copy paste the stream link in the OBS again and hit the button, and it reconnected. And I was
Nice.
like, cool. But then I crashed File Explorer again, trying to put the pictures in there because I thought, oh, well, maybe the restart did it.
It's weird that it wouldn't let you do that because that's definitely an oddity.
So I did the show notes last night, and whenever I was done and went to shut down, it gave me the option like, hey, there's a Windows. This was actually this morning. Shut down. There was like a 3-minute for a Windows update. And I was like, okay, yeah, fine. Go ahead. I got 3 minutes, you know.
Yeah.
It'll do that while I'm loading the rest of the stuff into the truck. So one has a tendency to wonder
Yeah.
if that
What
made an
changed?
effect, right?
Yeah. No, that's my laptop I use here.
Yeah.
My shift keys just sometimes don't work,
Oh.
which is a pain because every password in the world has to have at least one capital or a character in it. So, like, you type your password, incorrect
Cap
password.
on, cap off. Cap
Yeah.
on, cap off.
But that doesn't work if you need, an exclamation point or
Oh.
star,
Does
like-
the other shift work?
no.
Because two
It's
shifts.
both of them just
No shifts.
decide they don't want to work occasionally.
You got transmission problems.
Yeah,
your
it's not great.
laptop
Oh
won't
my
shift.
god. Oh, come on.
Take it to AMCO.
I'm gonna end up with a pile of laptops at home. Like, I've just been collecting them lately.
That would be actually like on brand for us, a stupid great like reel video
What's that?
of like us just rolling into like AMCO transmission and giving them the laptop and be like, can you fix this? And be like, we fix cars. And we'd be like, but it won't shift.
Yeah, it won't shift. That sounds about right. Yeah.
That was the perfect amount of tequila.
You
I
feel
needed.
better now?
Relatively so. We want to talk new format, what we're smoking,
Yeah.
shall we?
Let's do it.
All right, we could do that. It's time for the Cigar of the Week, brought to you by Just the Tip Cigars. Are you looking for the best selection of boutique cigars? Do you want the tried and true legacy brands that are synonymous with the cigar lifestyle? Do you want luxurious cutters, lighters, and other accessories? Do you want to relax in the most comfortable cigar lounge in the burg? Then you want Just the Tip Cigars. Conveniently located in the Bavarian Village Shopping Center in South Park, Pennsylvania, Just the Tip Cigars has been tailor-built to your smoking needs. Whether you visit in person or on the web at justthetipcigars.com, when it comes to cigars, Just the Tip is the whole package. Ooh, the whole package.
Oh, no.
You recognize that voice? I was
I
going
do.
for Mr. Poopy Butthole. Ooh-wee, the whole package.
You went too much into the old man from Family Guy
Oh, okay.
originally.
You want some popsicles? I don't. This early in the morning, I don't have a whole lot of control over what my voice
Yep.
does.
Yeah,
it
it
just is what it is.
Does what it wants to.
It's amazing how after 18 years of marriage, my wife still thinks I'm grumpy or like angry with her in the morning or cold
Because the voice
And
isn't
I'm
working.
not. Like, there's a couple of things. I look at myself in the mirror, and there's like extra lines in my face that aren't there. Like actually, it's kind of cool. I got like this diagonal line that happens over my eyebrow, but my eyes are all. The longer I sleep, the more sleep takes me.
Yeah.
And like the harder it is to wake up, and I'll have this like stuck, like stretched face thing going.
Yeah. Oh.
But my brain is slow, and my face is weird, and my voice is really low, and it makes me seem like I'm just mad at the world, but I'm not. I'm like this computer. I'm just trying to boot up the rest of the way.
My kids will do that. They'll be like, "Daddy, can you stop doing that voice?" And I'll be like, "No, I can't. Like,
Yes,
I
I
can't."
can at 12 p.m.
Yeah. Now, I'm about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
About 20 minutes in the morning where I have like the just deep gravel. Like, yeah, this doesn't sound happy at all.
I need to, so like when I'm working 3 to 11, I still try to get up at like 8 a.m. with Shannon when she's going to work, because that way I have time to wake up and like naturally go through the process, so that if I want to practice music before work,
You have time.
Yeah, because I could start theoretically like at 1 p.m. if I get up at 8. It's a process.
Yeah.
So like when we did the Cigar Box Guitar Festival, dude, I had to get up so early for that,
Just to be ready.
just to make sure that like I got the morning phlegm out of my system and the vocal cords had time to warm up and drink the tea
Yeah, so you
and
were
do all
ready.
the things. Yeah, it was a worrisome ordeal. But we will tell you now that we've sufficiently bird walked.
Yes, just a bit.
Cigar this week. We are smoking the CAO Brazilia. This is the 6x50 Lambada, because they're too cool to just say, hey, it's a Toro, guys.
Yeah, right.
Which Man, I hate that's a pet peeve.
Yeah,
Can we just all get on the same damn page for sizes?
Please.
Come on. So no surprise, Brazilian Maduro wrapper.
Yeah.
Kind of a surprise, Nicaraguan binder and fillers. I didn't expect that, to be honest with you. I assumed that there was going to be a little bit like of Brazilian Montefina filler or something.
Some more Brazil to it than
Yeah,
just
I thought
the
there'd be a
one.
little bit more, you know.
Yeah, no, the name does imply that it's going to be heavily Brazilian,
Yeah.
but no, just
I mean, it's called the freaking Brazilian.
yeah, which makes
Brazilia.
Brazil, yeah, because
Oh,
the
by the
Brazilian's different. That's something else.
This episode is named the Brazilia Buttlift. That's what I
Okay,
named it, yeah.
okay then.
Mm-hmm.
No, I never looked into the wrapper binder filler of the Italia either. I'm curious why it's.
I bet you none of it's Italian.
Yeah, like. Did you take just a little bit of fire cured and put it in there? Because that's about all they do, right? Like,
Kind
and
of,
most
but
of that they buy from us.
They source it from Kentucky, though,
Right.
which is interesting, right? So, yeah, who knows?
No, always been a favorite of mine from CAO, though. It's always a good just keep a couple.
The more we smoke CAO on the show, it is literally the only brand that has, for the most part, been purchased by somebody else like long enough ago that it is fully in like it's General, right?
Yeah.
So it has been in General's hands probably since I've started smoking cigars, right?
Yeah.
CAO was its own thing in like the 90s, I feel like, during the boom,
Yeah, I'm not sure.
and bought by General. It's like one of the few brands that I'm like, they kind of still do it right. Like, this cigar is not necessarily for everybody, but I love the fact that they still put together good tasting cigars with clever ideas, great packaging,
Yep.
great marketing strategies. Like,
Oh, yeah.
they do a they do a good job.
Oopsies.
Where's your camera? Your camera went away.
Not necessary.
You're just black.
Yeah. Try
okay.
actually clicking on wide cam. See
Yeah,
if it,
we're gonna go ahead and look at Corey
Yeah.
for a few seconds here while I try to figure out. Nope. Yeah, you know,
Yep.
your camera's gone.
I mean, it's still got the light on. It's still there. At least it acts like it.
Oh, well, now it's droopy.
Droopy.
All right, we could try some things
Oh.
for that.
No, like I agree with you on that. They've definitely worked to keep marketing going with it. They do stuff like, they came out with the Mortal Coil, and they came out with different versions of it as limited edition, and then the popular one becomes the core line. Like they actually go through a process to bring a new cigar in. They don't just launch it and go, here's the new one you're gonna love. You have to love it. No. It's, hey, we'll test out a couple small batches, and small batches for them are, they do a small batch. It's probably twice the size of what Stolen Thrones does for a year.
That's the first person that came to my mind.
I don't know why, yeah, but like they do
William
a small
Marsh.
batch. They do a ton of them, put them out, see the demand, back off, and then they'll either keep putting them out as an LE each year, like they do the Amazon Basin,
Yep.
or you'll have something like the Mortal Coil or Arcana. That one did
Dad
really
bod.
well. The dad bod,
fan.
that's a new iteration every year, so they change it and they make a new size punch core line each year.
That's fair.
But even that's a great idea because it reintroduces people to punch, because there was a while I was like, no, punch, whatever. And
You're
then
right.
I smoked them again. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
And
it's,
punch is not like, I don't like any of the punch core, like the normal core stuff.
yeah.
Like, there's a lot of people that, like, before I got in the cigar, what the hell is going on? I'm so sorry.
What are you doing?
The OBS is not being.
It's not participating.
No. Okay, hold on.
Yeah,
Let
right
me
there.
Turn you on. No, I'm not, because there's. Okay. There's something going on with the order. There we go. Somehow the cameras got out of order. So my little shortcut button didn't work because I would make myself visible. I'm over top of you. That's what
You have
the
it
button
layered, yeah.
does, right? So somehow we got switched. And
Yeah.
so you were, anyways.
No,
So before I got into smoking cigars, there were a lot of the older dudes that would once in a while have a cigar that I interacted with. Punch.
yep.
I don't know, man. But actually, Punch is one of the ones that does okay too, because you've got the knuckle sandwich.
Yep.
Is pretty decent, and a few of their online brass knuckle things like that. I don't remember the other
like
names.
here, Punch, the knuckle sandwich. I have one guy that buys boxes and boxes of, so like I have fake numbers on that, but like, so it outperforms here. But like the core line punches, they do good all the time.
Yeah.
I don't have anybody coming in being like, oh, I need 3 boxes of it, but I get, consistently I move a couple of them a week. And, they, like even the core line EMS Maduro, like that's why I said I was happy about the dad bod. It got me to go back to try and punch. And I was like, you know what, let me go back to these 2 and give them a shot again. And they're decent sticks. They just, I think people think first off that they're weak, and they're not at all. Like that's a medium body cigar for sure.
Yeah.
Which is cool because it's a legacy. It's been around for a while. Monte Cristo White, Punch Classic, like Monte Cristo.
Monte Cristo is another one where all of the lines. Let me backtrack. Leaf and Bean and McMurray, one year they had the rep come out for a Christmas party, and I won a sampler of Monte Cristos, and that was my first time like really going, okay, there was 2 of all kinds of different blends, probably in a Toro or Churchill, and I smoked them all, and I was like, these are all good.
Yeah.
Like they are all good cigars.
Yeah, they're just
I don't know if
little...
any of them are great cigars, and I don't know if any of them, to me, are worth their price point when I compare them to a boutique, or what I would consider a boutique brand, because I don't want to get into that debate today. But they are all actually very still good cigars.
Yeah, well, like the Monte Cristo White comes in at 16 or 17. At 16 or 17, there's cigars out there that I love to have. And then we were talking about it here at the shop the other day. Like, there's a price point. Like, if I'm willing to spend 16, I'll usually buy an 18. Like, if I'm in the mood where like a $16 cigar sounds good, I might move over and be like, you know what, I'm gonna grab this guy for 18 or 20 at that point. And it's like, all right,
you don't
I'm just gonna
count
grab
anymore.
Why?
Because wholesale.
Oh well. That's a misconception, because it still cost me the same amount as you because I can't sell it now.
All right.
So
I've got 2 things. The first thing is that you keep putting your pen up to the camera, and I feel like you're challenging me.
Oh,
but
sorry.
I'll get to that.
It's
in a
just
second.
in my hand.
I'll get to that in a second. First of all, I want to assure Troy Harper that his comments are being seen.
Oh.
You may see them come and go on your side. I do see them. So let's first of all say what's up, Troy Harper. What's up, Eric? What's up, Dougie Doug? Troy, we're seeing your comments. I cannot address every one of them because I am producing the show today.
Yeah.
And therefore, like, if we're going back to our old responsibilities, the only one that Sam has is the chat room.
Which I acknowledged him when he got here. I did say
He
hello.
acknowledge. Troy, you're just saying too much for Sam to be able to keep up with you. But we'll get back to more of this later. But if we're going to be holding up pens, I'm going to hold up one too. So I feel like this is kind of going to be the unofficial topic. The official, unofficial topic of the show is lighters and lighter repair. Now, wow, look at that hand.
Yeah.
That's a big hand
you
right
go.
there. That's how you do it, buddy.
Get all up in there.
That's right. So just so you know, you're being seen.
Yeah.
But we do not have to jump on the lighters right now. You just held up your pen. I felt like
I just had it in my hand and was talking and bibbity boobity.
So legacy talk is still cool.
Yeah, like the Monte Cristo White is a great stick. That's the core of their line. Like that is the core of their core lines is the white label. That's the one that everywhere you should see it. It should be there. It's always in demand. But what you said about pricing, like I love the Monte Cristo Nicaragua. That's a good stick. I just at that price point, I'm no thanks. Like bring it down to closer, not even as low as these guys, but bring it down a little bit, and they would move like crazy.
Here's the thing about them is, to my experience so far, there is no bad Monte Cristo cigar from the American standpoint.
Well, Monte Cristo is Altadis.
Yeah.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is that there is still a Cuban Monte Cristo.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh, gotcha.
I'm talking the Altadis Monte Cristos.
Yeah.
There are no bad ones. They are not priced competitively.
Yeah.
However, they still live off of the name.
Yep.
Because you got guys that golf, and that's their only exposure to cigars. Or there's guys that, have been smoking very, very casually for 30 years, or older people, and that's the name recognition they have is the Monte Cristo and the Cohiba.
Yep.
And so they go, I want something good. This is what I'm going to go to. And they live a lot off of the legacy of that name. They are, I've never had a bad one, but if you're watching this, you're not really the people I'm talking to right now, because you're a little more into cigars than most people if you're fucking watching this. But with that being said, the people that assume that that's the best cigar, they're just living off of a name legacy that isn't accurate anymore.
Which comes back to like Cuban cigars too. Like there was a time where Cuban cigars were it. They were the business. That was it. Yep. And now they are still really good cigars. It just it's not there. It didn't progress. It stayed where it was.
If Stolen Throne had been around in the Cuban era, or
it would have been
in the cigar boom, and people were like, "Wow, this is amazing cigar," like that would be the one, because they don't make a bad cigar. They are all incredible, and they're all really incredible for the price point. Whereas Monte Cristos or Cohibas are not,
and they have the name and the marketing recognition,
but
like you said.
But that's what I'm saying. It's a time and place and history, and that's what people hold on to, and that's fair because the average person does not smoke cigars or does not smoke many, and so you kind of go, okay, what branding do I know?
Yeah, what do we want to do there? And then another thing with like some of the legacies, like with CAO, the Flathead 660, with Monte Cristo, the Nicaragua, there's a couple different legacy ones, master blends by Oliva. These are ones that I think they kind of screwed themselves using cigar bid and stuff like that, where they went out there and they were so cheap compared to what they actually cost, MSRP on those sites, and they flooded it. Now guys are like, well, I'm not buying this for $16 when I used to get them for $5 a piece.
There ain't no way that they're going to buy them from a brick and mortar.
Yeah.
By the way, this flashback, Family Guy style, to a couple of days ago, we were having a conversation. Someone said brick and mortar. It was my brother-in-law, Sean, thanks. And I go, I want to start. And I tried to figure out how I could make the words in my head work. So I said, okay, let's start a physical store that sells. You can't call it a Lego store, so you got to sell building block kits or whatever.
Yeah.
But we're going to call it Brick and Morty.
Brick and Morty.
It just have you walk in and there's like a 6 foot tall.
It's just all
Lego.
It's all themed Rick and Morty, but it
Lego
says
Rick.
I'm Lego Rick. Come on, guys! Just grab some Legos and go play.
Oh, what would you say? I think you quartered up right there. Did I hear a female dog terminology in there?
No.
Okay.
No.
I'm gonna go to the official police.
Hey, you want to go back through? There's an F-bomb in there that you might want to pay up for.
That
too.
was almost an F-bomb. Here's the thing: I tried to say two different things at once, so it was slurred. It is not a technical F-bomb.
Okay.
So like the combination of me thinking of two, like that word and then an alternate word, and then the influence of tequila slowing my mouth down, it was almost, but I slurred it so it doesn't count.
We'll go with that.
I mean, I'm just going on technicalities here. You know what I mean?
Any angle we can pull.
That's right. No. I'll pull it from any angle.
But no, I think a lot of the cigars have been like they came out in these online retailers and they were like, let's just let's go volume instead of price, and then they still want to be in brick and mortars. It's like, guys, like I can't carry that cigar. I've had the same 10 count box of Master Blend since I opened, and it's a great cigar.
It is a great cigar, but that's the thing is, I don't think Oliva is hurting on that one. I'm sure they sell plenty of them online,
right?
And that's just what it is now. Which is a shame. Because it could have been more.
Yeah.
Because to be honest with you, I think the Master Blends whoops the crap out of
Most
the
of their
Series
line.
V and the
Yeah.
Milano and stuff. It's actually the only cigar. If you look at the Master Blends and you go, okay, what is this? It is a Rocky Patel Decade box pressed. It is right. Are all the Master Blends box pressed like a soft box?
All the decades are.
Are the decades?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Well, then it's the same.
Yeah.
It's like they're very similar.
yeah, I think the only sizes I've seen in the Master Blends are like 5-inch and down, and they're all a bit wider
Now they
than
have
the
Churchills
decade. Do
and
they?
stuff too. Yeah.
Yeah, and I haven't shopped them that much. I brought one box in because I know it's one of those cigars. It's a safety net for people.
It is a good cigar,
and
but yeah, you're never gonna have people walk in and be like, "Oh, I like this cigar. Let me grab it," because you're gonna be like, "No, I usually get that for."
And I've had that
way
conversation
less, like
so
$3.
many times, and I'm like, yeah, you know, especially guys that have been smoking for 4 or 5 years or more, like that shopped at Holtz and
Yeah.
ordered from there, like. Yeah, they were selling them there way cheaper than my cost is now. You know, for a while. I mean, it's caught up now, but once you have that price anchor in your mind of what this cigar costs, when it goes up, it hurts. And if you don't
it's
stick
hard.
with it, and you let's just say you smoked the Brazilia and it was $5 a piece, and then you moved on and tried a bunch of boutique, and you want to go back to it. Now it's 10. Now you're upset, and it's like,
Oh,
no,
yeah.
dude, it's been 3 years. Like
Right.
natural progression. It just inflated, but
Well, plus, COVID made all of us people that had like a reasonably decent income with like some sort of safety net, just living on the edge.
yeah.
You know, well, not to steal from Aerosmith, but
Yeah, but no, it's tough because there's a lot of legacy cigars that I love that I'm just like I can't bring them in. The price just doesn't reflect it, and it's like I'd like you to try it, but I'm not going to carry it. You know, there's a ton of even like factory smokes. Like I'd love to sell singles of factory smokes, but I can't justify having that bundle open here without having minimum to use the lounge, which I don't want to set a minimum to use the lounge. Like, you know, come in, buy a cigar, sit, hang out.
right.
I just can't do that on a $3 cigar.
Sure.
You know, and a lot of guys would love the factory smokes, but they don't want to take the jump to buy a bundle having never tried it.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
You know, there's a lot of like small things like that. It's like a constant internal battle. Like I can see both of these arguments. So
That's fair. So I learned something over here today. If, in case you didn't think I was in a mind space where I was capable of learning, the ring cannot be worn while producing
okay, why is that?
because every time I'd reach to hit the
Ding.
camera button, I clang off of the microphone boom, and I'm like, okay, this has got to come off.
Yeah.
it's no bueno. So no rings for producers.
No ring
just so
for
you
the
know.
producer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nah.
No.
No, I got one ring. That's it. I've never been a ring guy at all. It's never.
Shannon doesn't want me to be a ring guy, but you know what I am is I am a Celtic jewelry guy.
You're an accessory whore. Just call it what it really is.
That's fair too. I've got no problem with that. But as some wise man once told me, two things can be true.
Right.
So I've got Scottish heritage, and I've gotten a lot of grief because of it on the kilt end, which is fine. But I'm a sucker for anything with like Celtic crosses, lion rampant, Celtic knots, stuff like that. And this is
Yeah.
a super cool, my style, chunky ring that has the lion rampant on it, which
Yeah.
is, you know, very, very Celtic. And so I love this thing. But yeah, it's not worth the constant
ding.
people assuming that we're playing the Gong Show over here.
Right.
This is not the Gong episode. What's up, Keith Kilburn?
Eric writes, "Hello, gentlemen."
Yeah,
I'm sitting here. I was trying to remind myself. Go to the comments.
But yeah, so I thought a good topic for the show, and I don't know how crazy hard we want to go into it, is lighter repair. So the last time I was in, Sim was like, hey man, I got this pen as a swag item from Oliva. But whenever I got it, the button just hung off the
Yep.
side, and it was never going to do anything. He's like, you want to take it home and play with it? And I was like, sure.
Yep.
Like, I will, but it's not going to ever work
Yeah.
because it was in pretty bad shape. But I was the kid whenever I was a kid that I would walk around, because you walked everywhere, rode your bike everywhere when you were a kid. So I'd go to my friend's house and I'd come back on like trash day, and somebody would have like a stereo receiver or a VCR or something
play with
sitting out for the trash, and I'd have to bring it home and plug it in, and it don't work, and then I take it apart and see if I can make it work. And more oftentimes than not, when I was successful, all I did was take it apart, put it back together.
Yep. And it would work.
Oh, yeah, 1/3 of the time, maybe it actually got back together, because then I was like, I don't know where this goes.
I'm bored. I had fun
spare
taking
parts, throw it away.
Yep.
Or you would smell it and you would go like, oh no, this is burned up.
Yep, it's
you
done.
know? But there were occasions. My uncle gave me like a really expensive DSLR camera. He was like, yeah, this is no good anymore if you want to mess with it. And I was like, okay, cool. And like, I took it apart, played with it, got it back together. It worked. I don't know how I fixed it. I don't know that I did anything.
It doesn't
But apparently it was like a hard reboot. Like after doing that, it was good. You know,
I did that for years. I had like 2 routes that I would drive every week in the pickup and just go around and pick up old lawnmowers. I mean, like it was every Tuesday and Thursday I would go out, and there was these 2 spots where there was always these 2 neighborhoods. There was always somebody throwing away a mower, and these things were like brand new, especially in the spring when it doesn't start, go get a new one,
right?
Or
like I can't change the spark plug.
It's good, like
right.
That's all it took, you know?
Right.
But no, I mean tearing mowers apart, and then I'll sell it to somebody for $50. Like I got a gasket into it in a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Okay, $50. Hey, you get a basically brand new mower from last year that they just buy a new one every year. Okay. So that I definitely relate to that one.
It's either buy a new one or get your fingernails dirty. Some people are allergic to that.
Yeah. Actually, like, do stuff. But no, we did that. But like my dad he always had appliances and stuff like that he was fixing in the basement. And I remember a microwave that he had in the basement. I tore it apart, and he insisted I had to put it back together. And I'm like, I can't. And I'm like 7. Like I'm not,
equipped to
put
like, back together.
You have to at least put it back together. Like put all the parts in it and close it up. And that was it. And put like washers, dryers, all that. I grew up just playing with them because why not? And
that's the joy of finding something out for garbage day, is like, it's already broke. It's already garbage. Like, how much more damage are you going to do other than maybe burn your house down, But, like, you're not paying the homeowner's insurance when you're a kid, so it's like, okay, that's a risk I'm willing to take, or not one that I'd taken into consideration as a factor. Yeah.
Microwaves are when I discovered capacitors. I will never
still bite you.
Ever forget that. That I learned that
life
day.
Lessons.
Yeah, they. By the way, anybody who doesn't know, capacitors hold on to power even once the power is off.
They sure do.
You want to make sure you discharge that before you touch it.
So what he's referring to, if you're not familiar, is like if you've ever been told to power off your computer, and then pull the plug, and then hold the power button.
Yeah,
it's because voltage is still stored in those capacitors, and so you're going, okay, let me discharge everything and start it back up from no power, which is funny because like I don't remember what the subject matter was, but I was talking to Shannon. We were driving out to the Weaning House yesterday, and something came up, and I think it was mechanical, and so she asked me a question that I was able to answer, and she's like super impressed, and it's like, well, in my day it was still kind of common for a young man to go through just interacting with things.
Yeah.
And you had to find ways and do stuff. Like, I was explaining to her how in the 90s, if you were lucky enough to have a car, and it was usually a beater that required constant repair. Remember the Hayes manuals?
Oh, yeah.
That you would buy.
Oh, yes.
My pap probably had every car he ever owned,
had
the Hayes manual on a shelf in the garage, right? Because you would go like, there's no YouTube yet. There's no, like, there maybe internet exists.
You had to drive out and get a book.
Lack of accessibility or awareness. And you go, okay, I got to figure out what to do with this. So you would get the manual, and then you would go to your male role model that's had some experience, and you go, okay, like,
what does this mean?
Yeah.
And
you'd go through that process, and that's something that, even though kids have more information accessible to them, they have a little bit less motivation to escape from that information and go into the real world and use it. But in my day, it was like you would have your Hayes manual.
Oh yeah,
under the seat or wherever,
laying on top of the motor while you work. Yeah, that's when we moved out of our house in Greene County to where we are now. I think I threw away 400 or 500 Haynes manuals because like I was a mechanic. There's a lot of stuff that's vehicle specific I didn't know. So every time I'd like, I've never worked on one of these before. When I was at the auto parts store, I would just grab the manual and it was part of the job, and and I had so many of them. And finally, I was like, I can just YouTube this. I don't use these books anymore. But it hurt a little bit because I had one from 2002 that was a Geostorm that I worked on, a little beater car, and I think that was the first one of them I ever picked up. And I'm like, do I throw it away? It's a yeah, throw it away. Like this is just nostalgia. Throw it away. But there's so many of them in there and a lot of them saved my bacon.
Yeah,
working on once I started working for people and like getting paid to work on their cars, it changed things.
Well, it's funny because Troy Harper has like the most relatable comment I've ever seen in here. And funny, like this is his best comment ever. But before the hub, you held on to these things forever too, because you never know when you need to go back to something when your bank's dry.
Yeah,
and so you'd have your physical collection that if you needed, you got into a bind until it became okay. I don't have to worry about downloading something from a shady site and like wrecking my computer or phone or whatever. Now it's a little more accessible. But he says, growing up on garbage day, we looked for girly magazines. Even found a half of a dumpster full of them once.
All I'm picturing is Troy Harper running towards that dumpster like Billy Madison. Nudie Magazine Day. Nudie Magazine Day.
The slow motion run. Yeah, absolutely. It's like that dude. That was like Goonies treasure. You know what I mean? Like you hype it up in your head, and like in your head, this is like treasure.
Yep.
Yeah. For sure.
Keith said he has two new 3-flame torches that don't light. They give him a quick flash, but won't actually light. Chances are, man, purge them all the way down.
Yeah.
Fill them back. Most of the time, it's a gas issue.
So I am the resident lighter repair expert, I would say, for 4-hour show.
Oh, yeah, you've played
just
with way more.
because I've got more time to invest
to actually tinker them.
Yeah. So I'm gonna borrow because I haven't really thought hard enough to try to come up with my own. But Mr. Jonathan of the Cigar Authority has an acronym that he uses. It's called GHOST. Okay, so that stands for gas, hang upside down, oxygen, spark, and timing. Right. So this is the first few things that you have to look at. Is you have to go, okay, am I getting a spark? If you're not getting a spark, then that could be the easiest fix, and it could be the hey, throw it away.
Could just
fix.
be push on the igniter a little bit, and you're good.
Right. So inside of your cigar, your lighter, cigar lighter. I could have kept going.
Yeah.
So there's the igniter element has to be positioned in a way where it doesn't ground out on the sidewall.
Right.
So if it's grounding out on the sidewall and it's not being directed into the jet, into a place where it's going to make contact with the gas coming out, then you're not going to get nothing. So usually you could take like a precision screwdriver or something like that, like an eyeglass screwdriver, and manipulate it a little bit. And oftentimes that'll be all you need to do. But what happens is that's an inevitable thing. That's going to happen on even the best lighters because the constant heat and cool down means that that's going to move. It expands and contracts. So make sure your igniter is positioned where it is actually contacting the spark is contacting the jet. Gas is another one. A lot of people don't know to purge your lighter.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's probably one of the biggest, most common things.
Yeah.
So whenever you buy butane, first of all, there's different qualities. So if you put bad butane in it and you get a buildup in there, that's no bueno. But there's a propellant in that can sometimes to push the butane in, right?
Yep.
So you want to, after you fill the lighter or before you refill it, either use a tool like the Zycar tool. I love it because it pushes the gas away from you instead of directly onto your fingers.
Right into your face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would recommend getting one of those.
I use an empty I use an empty can.
You could do that.
I take an empty butane can, I poke holes in the base of it, and I use that upside down. And I like it because if you hold like right at the base of it while you're doing that, once it gets cold, stop. That means you're getting butane instead of air or propellant out.
Yeah, generally, like I do a slow bleed with my tool, and if you're seeing liquid coming out, that's a good sign to stop, right? So it's going to allow room too, because you're bleeding off pressure. You're allowing room for the butane to easily fill the lighter, and then even after you fill it up, give it a little bit of a purge with your tool. Whatever you use, whether it's a can, a screwdriver, an actual licensed tool, and then top it off. And then you also need to either A, let that sit for a minute so that the temperature adjusts, or B, the first time you light it, just don't expect it to light up because you're going to be super gas heavy, propellant heavy, or whatever. Okay, so the other thing is when you're filling a lighter, that lighter needs to be upside down and the can needs to be upside down. It doesn't go, okay, I'm going to put the can here and put the lighter on top of it. That's no bueno.
It does not
because you're going
work.
to push the air, the propellant into the can and not the actual butane, right?
Right.
So that's the other thing. That's why upside down is important. The other thing is oxygen, right? So if your jets are clogged up with ash or anything else, that's no bueno. How do you get rid of that? You turn the adjustment on the bottom of your lighter all the way off, open it up, unless you have one that you can open without having a simultaneous gas ejection. Then you take your butane can. You can also use like an air compressor air tool, or you could use like
Canned
keyboard
air,
cleaner. But I think the best way to do it is with butane. So you take your butane can and put it on top of your jet and give it a quick pss, 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 squirt.
Yeah.
And then you got pressure pushing the other way through, and you will unclog those jets. That's also something if you have a multi-jet lighter and you see that a couple of them are firing good and one of the jets or two of them looks dirty, your flame's kind of half complete.
Yeah.
Like if
it's
you
just
got a
wonky,
half-ass flame, you probably need to clean out your jets, and I think that's the best way to go.
And most of the time that's caused by buying lower quality fluid, like you were saying. Like the fluid's not all made the same. Like
it can also be, it could be that, and it could be the people that. So whenever I light a cigar, I always keep my cigar parallel to the ground,
right,
and then I hold my lighter at a 45-degree angle. But if you do this, then all that ash is dropping into your burners, so that's no good either, right?
Well, that brings me back to Spark for a minute too. Is with Spark. And I've had a spree of them lately where like guys are like, oh, it won't light, click. Okay, spark's not there. I just take my razor blade and just scrape down the sides of it one time real quick down each side because it's carboned up and the spark can't make it through the carbon.
Absolutely.
So there's so many just little. Now that I'm thinking about it, how many little tricks we use that you don't think about, you just know them.
Yeah, people think a lighter's no good, and it's like, listen, it's fine, probably. Like I've gone through piles of my buy lighters from estate sales and from garage sales and stuff, and you go, where people go, hey, this is dead, do you want it? You're like, okay, cool.
Well, same as what I did with that pen. I was like, hey, I don't have time to mess with this. You want it? Yeah. See if you can do something.
That one that you gave me that was that you thought had a leak, and it did. You'd fill it up and it would leak. All I did was mess with that one a few times, like play with filling it and bleeding it, and it must have reset the seal in it, and it holds butane now.
Yeah, because I mean that was a brand new lighter that on the shelf. I went over to it to sell it to somebody, and it was empty. Like, why? So I filled it back up, left it on the counter to watch it, and it went empty again.
Right.
And it took days to leak, but like it still leaked.
Sure.
And that you need that pressure in there so it can expel the gas and work as a jet.
Yep. So now we get back to Spark, which we've already kind of covered Spark, but Spark is the next one, and then timing. Now this one, every lighter is going to be different.
That's the perfect example, that brown and gold one there. I don't know if you can reach it, but
I could grab it.
Yeah, those are a perfect example. But it's only a problem the first couple lights, but sorry.
Okay, so when we say timing, every fire, every combustion requires what? 3 things: gas, oxygen, and heat.
Yep.
Whether that's spark, whether it's combustion from another way, right? So if I just bang, no bueno, right?
Yep. Go nice
but
and
if
slow.
I do it slow, cool. And sometimes if you do it way too slow, it may not work either, because you need the right amount of oxygen, the right amount of gas, and the correct timing for the spark. So if I hit this right away, what I'm doing is I'm putting the spark in there
before the gas has a chance.
Before I have any gas to ignite.
Yep.
The gas is slower than the spark is, right? So if I just go bang like that, like a lot of people that are cigarette smokers go to use your lighter, or somebody that's not familiar, if you just hit that, that's no bueno. But if I take my time and do it slow, it's going to go every time, right?
Yeah.
Because you're giving enough time for a gas-oxygen mixture to combine in there before the spark hits. So
yeah, with those Oliva lighters, those are the house lighters we leave sit around, and probably 4 or 5 times a day I get told that they're out of fluid, and I'm like, no, just click it slow. Like, just take your time, like you just showed. Like, slow it down a little bit. It's the timing of it, and like, you know, like my vertigo, like you guys can. It doesn't want to go because I'm going too fast with it. Actually, and this one actually is low, but once I slow down on it, no, it's
you ain't got.
She did. It just needs filled. But yeah, it's you need all the things to work right for the lighter to work correctly.
You need to know what you're doing.
Yeah. Now with that pen lighter, that one of the cool features with that guy is that that thing just keeps drifty, huh?
Yeah, it needs tightened up.
Yeah. With that pen lighter you got there, the flame going green on it. I never looked into how do they do that. Is it just like a little phosphor rod in there or what?
Yeah, there's a particular metallic element in there, and when people go, oh, see the color change, sometimes it is just for a cool effect, for like, hey, to help sell it, but it does have a functional purpose. And if you've ever tried using a butane torch outside, like on a golf course, against the green or blue when it's really light outside,
you can't see it at all.
You can't see it. It's hard to tell if you're lit or not. You might burn yourself, or you might be sitting there wasting gas because you don't think that your lighter actually lit. So what some of them will do is, you see this starts blue and then it turns green, and they do it with red as well.
Yeah.
And red's probably better than green, because if you're on a golf course, that might be hard to see.
Still be difficult,
but it's going to be easier to see than a typical blue flame, and that's why they do it for visibility. So that you can see where your flame's at. But this is not a bad little doodad.
That's a great little one.
And this is actually an example of, too, like, the things that we're discussing were not what was wrong with this.
Right.
So this is a small lot going on in a little package.
Yeah.
It's like Corey, you know?
Oh,
So whenever I disassembled it, and that was my problem looking at it, was going, okay, how am I going to disassemble this thing? Because I don't see any reasonable place to take it apart. Well, this has 2 components. You have your pen, which is just this section, which is probably going to be hard to get refills for. That pen's going to run for you for about a week and then be no good. So I wouldn't recommend heavy use with this pen. But then on the bottom there, you have your fill chamber, and then you have your small little eyeglass screw. So once I removed that screw, I was able to slide off the casing, see all my components, and essentially there's a flat spring that reaches down from the trigger mechanism, which is just working the igniter until that thing goes down to the bottom, and then simultaneously sparks functions the butane that come out as well.
Opens the jet up.
And so, but it was just kind of hanging there.
Yeah.
Not resetting and not doing anything because everything was out of position. So that was kind of a different circumstance that happens to most of the ones that I see are lost causes. Are either you've got a really like a bad seal on the inside that you can't get to on your gas chamber, or like if you've ever lit a butane torch and had fire coming out of your jets from the sides, or it's coming out of the top, but it's messy. It's not a jet. It's not a torch. It's a soft flame, but it's a big, crazy soft flame. That means that probably you have a hose that has either just disconnected because it was loosely fitted inside, or it has disconnected because of expansion over time at the breakdown of the hose material itself. And then what's happening is your butane is not being focused through your jet. It is just kind of coming from everywhere.
Right.
So when that spark hits it, you just have fire all over the place.
That's the Oliva lighters. I learned a lesson real quick with those, which was when you're filling those, when I filled those up the first couple times, every time I would light them for the first time, there would be a fireball.
Yeah.
I mean, a giant fireball. And all it was is when it was under pressure, it would blow past. It would blow past a little bit, and it would fill that cap.
Okay.
And, so like, and, you flip the cap open, you hit the igniter. Well, twice those went flying, like lighting it in front of me. And I was like, whoa.
Whoops. And there's the big hand.
But now I've learned to, pop them open and give them a couple seconds or blow on them like you did, like blow the residuals out of there.
Yes. And that's why I did that, is because after repetitive ignitions, you're building up gas.
Yeah.
So that was why I had to essentially like purge all the gas out of the area of the igniter to show you that, hey, if I do this fast and I don't have a buildup of butane just kind of hanging out in the atmosphere around it, it's going to go back to not working super awesome.
And some of them, like this one, it gets finicky when it's hot. Mm-hmm. So like once it gets hot, it's really, really hard to light. But it, just blow on it or shake it a little bit, and once it cools off, it lights fine. But sometimes that's just the timing goes off just a little bit because there's too much heat there, so it's pre-combusting before the fuel gets there, and then it won't stay lit.
Another thing I don't think people are aware of is what I call the crack lighter effect. So do you remember? Do you ever, when you were a kid, take apart the not Bic but like the cheap gas station lighters and then turn them up to be way too high and have just a flame this big coming out of them? So that's something to consider too, is from the factory. If you have like, especially an easy adjustment wheel on the bottom, so that like you don't have to get in there with a screwdriver to adjust your gas output. A lot of times what happens is the min and max setting on there aren't really good. Either it's too much or too little.
Right.
And so what you could do is, if you have a wheel on the bottom, you can pull that out, rotate it about a quarter of a turn, put it back on, and then try adjusting again.
Yeah.
And oftentimes those things have a stopper built in on the wheel, like a physical stopper that keeps it from turning for high and low. And so if you spin that a quarter of a turn either way, you'll see that you're able to increase your maximum amount of gas output or decrease it. So if you go, hey, like, I love this lighter, but it doesn't, it's putting out too much gas, or it's not putting out enough gas, that is often sometimes what you can do is you could get on that wheel like Sam's about to show you, and you can pull that off and make the adjustment on the bottom. You probably just pull that off with your fingers.
Nah, these have been really snug lately.
Bang.
So, yeah, it was that quick to pull the adjustment wheel off there. Here comes the big hands. But on the adjustment wheel, there's I don't know if you'll be able to see it, there's a key on it where it has a physical stop where it'll reach into. So whenever you reassemble it, you put it back in with the key, towards one side. Now I've got full range of motion towards that other side. So now, well, this one, we don't want to light this one. This is a dead soldier.
That's the last dead soldier I had that you gave me, other than the pen, was that exact lighter too. That's the one that leaked.
This one's a special circumstance. If you notice, that is not supposed to be bellied out. Those are supposed to be straight sides. That was left in a car on the dashboard in the heat after immediately after filling it.
Unfortunately, it did not.
He brought it in. And he's like, he set it down in front of me, and I was like, "What are you doing with that?" And he's like, "What?" And I was like, "Give me that." He's like, "What?" I'm like, "Take another one. Just give me that lighter back." He's like, "Why?" I'm like, "Because that's not okay. Like it's doubled its capacity."
Yeah, I did
of
that
what it should
to
have been.
a tank, a frac tank once.
Oh,
we won't go into too much detail, but I didn't realize it was a sealed tank, and I was dumping
Pumping
oil
in.
into it, which is very much like butane, gives off vapors. Yeah, similar situation. So we're doing like a weird thing here today. It's not uncommon for Jason to not be here and for us to actually stay on topic, But it is a little bit weird that we stayed so well on topic for the last 50 minutes that we have not touched base with how we're doing with the cigar. So how's the cigar for you?
Always fantastic.
Yeah.
The one complaint I would have about the Brazilia is it doesn't develop much until the final third, but that's consistently always done that. Like,
Yeah.
I enjoy it, but one of my key things looking for a stick anymore is I want to see it progress and change as it goes through to keep me interested in it. My ADHD is there too, where this guy is, a half inch into it till almost halfway through the final third. It's the same cigar all the way through, which respect. It's blended to be that way.
Yeah, that's not a problem if that's what you're looking for.
Yeah. I do remember the taste of this being a little bit sweeter than what I'm getting today. Not a lot. I'm not talking sweet sugary, but I do remember a little bit more of like a cocoa-y kind of experience to it that I'm not getting at all today, which could just be the coffee I drank this morning or whatever.
Palate one cigar out. The one thing I'll say about this cigar is, particularly for inexperienced people or people that have a tendency to smoke very mild stuff, this is probably not going to be for you. And it's not a super powerful cigar, but one of the things that you get off of that Brazilian wrapper is you get that like tickly burn in the back of your throat. Like if you smoked all you smoked today was like 3 Brazilias, chances are tomorrow your voice is going to be scratchy, your throat's going to be a little tore up. But there's something about that Brazilian tobacco. Actually, I think the Brazilia is the one I'm thinking of. Like my dad and his friends that only smoke cigars like once a month down in Florida would smoke this and be like, "Oh man, like great cigar, but really kind of jacked up my throat or was overwhelming or the elephant on the chest." If you're a cigar geek, chances are this is not going to overpower you nicotine-wise or flavor-wise. But if you're on the softer side or you smoke a little bit less, just be aware that you may want to eat something, and this might have an effect on the back of your throat because it is that kind of powerful Brazilian wrapper on there.
So, we've talked about it before, like PA Broadleaf, Ecuadorian Habano, but the Brazilian itself, like this is one that it doesn't give me that at all. Brazilian tobacco seems to never give me that sensation. Obviously, you smoke 20 of them, you're going to have a problem. But, in my normal 3 to 5 a day, I could smoke 5 of these in a day and have no difference.
But if you're smoking one a month.
But if you're smoking one a month, you could be more sensitive to it. But, again, we've talked about so many times, I don't want to go too deep, but like PA Broadleaf is very sweet to me. Yeah. Where other people, they're like, oh, it's harsh. Yep. Ecuadorian Habano, one Ecuadorian Habano cigar, and I get the sensation you're talking about. Doesn't matter how strong the cigar is, that it just does, it gives me that effect. So, the types of tobacco you're smoking, change it up a lot. So pay attention. If you have like one specific cigar, go out and look for other ones like that and see if you can find what that common thread is, what that tobacco is that's affecting you, so in the future and be like, oh, this is really good, but I know that if I smoke this,
your homework.
Yeah, it's a little nerding out time for you.
So what's the price point on these guys?
Like $9.70.
Especially in this day and age, that's actually what, like, if you would have said that to me like 4 years ago, I'd be like, oh.
Yeah.
But 4 years ago it was probably like 6 or 7.
Yeah. Actually, they were. As I used to smoke a ton of these.
This is, again, not the most approachable cigar depending on where you're at or who you're making recommendations for. But, like, if you're just looking for something that's like, going to be like, okay, I want something that's going to stand out a little bit. You don't have a huge selection of boutiques or something like that, and you're kind of looking at, like, these core legacies. The Brazilia is kind of like as good of a punch as you're going to get to like your palate. You know what I mean? Like it's going to be a solid, like, hey man, I know I'm smoking a cigar.
Yeah. For the cigars,
burn is incredible on mine.
Yeah,
doing very well. No issues with that. No relights at all. So lots of very good things for me to say personally about this.
Yeah. No, I agree with you on, if you want something with a little bit more punch and you don't have a big selection in front of you. I've seen these in every shop I've ever been to. This is one of those cigars that it's always there.
Right. If you go into the beer store and they have a humidor,
They've probably got this in it.
And
Yeah.
like you're looking at a bunch of stuff and you're going like, I don't know, this all kind of seems mild or not my thing. If you see one of these guys and you're a geek, probably going to be okay for you. Probably going to be at the top of the list.
I don't think I've ever had a construction issue with one of these that wasn't my fault.
Yeah.
Like I've had ones where I cut it wonky or I did something there, but I don't think I've ever had a construction issue with one at all coming apart. But as far
From
as
my experience, construction issues are always Sam's fault.
yeah, I
He
mean,
wired it wrong.
yeah,
hung
it's
it wrong.
usually how it goes. But no, as far as CAO goes, I mean, I would put the 554 on the same strength level as this, the black labeled flathead.
Yep.
The spark plug I would put higher than this on strength. The 660 I would put a
Yeah.
little bit lower from the flathead series. Now the MX2 I would put
Been a long
same,
time.
but
Double
very,
Medoro.
yeah, but very different type of strength to that one. Definitely get more into that San Andreas world and those kind of notes.
Right. There you go.
I do miss the BX3. I haven't had one in so long. I completely forget what it tastes like, but that's another Brazilian one for you.
Yeah.
So I got to get, I think they're coming back out.
The old MX2, man, I like that cigar.
Oh, yeah.
Recent ones don't quite do it for me as much. That was one of the few that I grabbed from San Lucia, and I made that weird trade the one day. And like there were MX2s, and there were he gave me a couple of Opuses and all of them triple Maduros and stuff. And a lot of those cigars, it was like I'm benefiting from. When I got those cigars, if I went to a retail store and bought them, it wouldn't have been what they were because those had been sitting in a humidor.
Yeah, they were aged
probably
already
for a minimum of 5 years. So like those cigars were oftentimes not even the same blend anymore as they were whenever I got them. But now that we're in, I'm going to go ahead and hit the news.
Oh, yeah, we should probably do that, huh?
If you want to do that, I figure we can.
Oh, I will say one thing with the MX2. If you do the Robusto instead of the Toro, it hits way more your style. Like it's all up front. It's all there the whole way through.
The tips, baby.
Yeah.
All about them tips.
Tips.
Artista Cigars has announced the HOF. No, not House of Feruza. This is the David Ortiz line, and it's begun shipping to retailers. HOF stands for Hall of Fame. The cigar honors David Ortiz's induction into the National Baseball Hall of Fame in 2022. It's offered in two sizes, regular production Toro at 15 a stick and a limited edition Figurado at 16. The limited edition cigar comes in 10-count boxes, while the Toros come in 20s. A total of 541 boxes of the Figurado will be made available. That is significant because it's the number of home runs attributed to Ortiz during his professional career. Then we got our buddies, the Dissident Molotov, a limited edition cigar last released in 2022, is making a return. Dissident Cigars says the cigars are currently available to ship to retailers on first-come, first-served basis. The Molotov was the first cigar released following Sin and Josh Coburn's acquisition of the brand. The blend features an Ecuadorian, help me?
Rojizo.
When you put a J and an I together, it's just confusing looking, man. The wrapper over an Ecuadorian binder and fillers from the Dominican, Esteli, and Ometepe regions of Nicaragua. It is available in one size, a 5x50 Robusto, and comes in 20-count boxes. Pricing set at $12.50. Production numbers have not been disclosed, but it comes from Fabrica Oveja Negra in Esteli, Nicaragua, where all the other Black Works Studio cigars come from.
One cool feature of that cigar is because the way that they do the tip to give it the wick from the Molotov. Don't try and cut it. Just grab the tip and pull it off. Like you literally just grab the wick off the end of it, and it's perfect.
Good information for all things in life. Grab the tip.
Just grab the tip and pull it off, baby.
What? Padron Cigars has begun shipping a small allocation of the 60th to retailers. Two retailers have confirmed. Cigar Coop, which is who I usually steal my cigar news from, shout out to Cigar Coop, received both the Patron 60th Natural and the Maduro, which I assume, like everything else in their factory, is color sorted. So it's not different blends. You know what I mean? It's all the same thing. You just got darker for Maduro and the other for natural. So just know that that's usually the case. It debuted at the 2024 PCA Trade Show. The allocation coincides with September 8th, the official anniversary of Padron Cigars, launched 60 years ago. The cigar itself is a rounded 6.5 by 56 Perfecto, presented in individual coffins housed in 10-count boxes. Some stores have also been told their allocation of the 60th will not come until October. All of the retailers that Cigar Coop spoke to have confirmed a $75 SRP. Yeah. Probably not going to be smoking one of those anytime soon. But for those of you guys out there with a bigger budget than me, pitter patter, let's get at her.
Hell yeah.
Forge Cigar Company has announced the release of the Diesel Worthy Fool. It's the third and final installment of Diesel's Fool Errand line, the Fool's Errand, my apologies, blended by AJ Fernandez and Justin Andrews. Worthy Fool is described as a powerhouse cigar. The blend features a Nicaraguan Habano binder and filler and is finished with a dark Ecuadorian Sumatra wrapper, which means probably going to make your throat itchy.
Yep.
Yeah. The cigar comes in a 5x58 Perfecto and available in 10-count boxes. Production comes from Tabacalera AJ Fernandez in Esteli, Nicaragua. Pricing $9.99 per cigar. That is reasonable.
Yeah,
let's go.
But that's why
I
AJ
would
does
have
so
that.
well.
So not big on the diesels, but if I'm going to do it, I go to the Perfecto because, as we've discussed before, usually a little bit better made. You know who's going to smoke a crap ton of these? I bet is going to be Evan.
Oh,
Evan loves the diesel and stuff like that.
Yep.
Any of the powerhouse online stuff from AJ. So I think this one's going to be in his humidor often. Diesel will give. I'm sorry, let me backtrack here. As with previous two installments of the Fool's Errand, Worthy Fool has an interactive component. Diesel will give customers a chance to win exclusive prizes by solving riddles on the brand's website. After completing the Fool's Errand, fans will enter their names into a random drawing. Winners will be contacted in January. That kind of takes me back to the old popsicle stick days. Remember the popsicles where you'd eat the popsicle and there'd be a riddle on the stick? I love those things.
Yeah. Well, do you remember when, like, Pepsi caps? Like, everybody was saving the caps from their Pepsi because you had, like, winners and you like monetary games.
Or you save them up for points.
Yeah,
like Marlboro points.
Yes. Yeah, that because I remember when it was like you get a free Pepsi out of it. So like you never left the convenience store without pulling the cap and being like, nothing. All right, I'm out. Now that was always a good one.
Man, I miss the 90s sometimes.
Sorry, I had something.
Everything except for waiting for that picture to come up.
No, so you said
the thing finishes loading just to find out that's not a girl.
That's not. Yeah, that's the wrong page. You just like have the page load from top to bottom.
It would have been handy to be friends with Eric back then. Be like, oh man, here you go. This one's for you.
Yeah, enjoy, bud.
Just look at the bottom half.
No, you had said that was going to make my throat scratchy, but I've never had a problem with Nicaraguan Habano or Ecuadorian Sumatra. It's just a lot of Ecuadorian grown Habano is what gets me.
Habano.
So it's that specific one for some reason. And
I will say I feel this in the back of my throat, and it's not like a troublesome experience. I'm not like, oh, this is unpleasant, but I definitely understand why somebody that's a little bit more of a noob to or like dips their toe and doesn't jump in like we do,
right,
would kind of go like, okay, this is going to do a more to them than it will to me, but I feel an effect in the back.
Well, a good experiment for that's going to be, I'm going to give one to Britt, to my wife to try, because she's been, so I gave her Zeno as her first cigar.
Great stick.
And at the same time I was smoking, it's one of the Ossingers, I can't remember which one I had at the time, and she grabbed that and she's like, oh, I really like this one. And I'm like, okay, like the one I had was potent. So I'm like, all right. So she's done the Zeno, the Leather Rose, and a Tatiscan. That's all she's tried so far. The Leather Rose, she was like, no. She's like, there's no reason it should be that sweet.
I've been kissed by a rose in a bad way.
But yeah, so she's done those. So I'm next one on our list is probably going to be this guy. Let her see, like you said, a little bit more strength, a little bit more that direction. That Oz, I got to figure out which one it was, so I kind of better have an inventory in my mind of what she's tried.
Yeah.
But no, this one, I think she'll really enjoy. I think it'll be right up that what she's trying to go for, and she's going to work her way through the humidor, she said. So
Good.
Curious to see how that's going to work out, how far she makes it before she's like, okay, I just like this one. Because she's very much that person.
Or like, okay, I'm going to stop going through blind and you tell me which ones.
Yeah. Well, and right now it's new, so like just go grab something.
Sure.
But no, she's very much like she goes to one restaurant, she's ordering this. She goes to another restaurant. Like she set in her ways. She's one of those people that once she finds the things she likes there, she's not looking to see if there's something she likes better. I like it, I'm good.
That's my wife too. The
Really?
number of times that she's gone to a place, like she'd go to the high-end place and be like, oh, I'm going to get the chicken mayonnaise. And you're like, oh, this sounds good too. Nope. I know that chicken mayonnaise is incredible. I know I'm going to love it. I'm going to get it. Like, I'm not going to waste my meal.
Yeah. No, and
whereas Kieran, my daughter, the other day was out to dinner with her boyfriend. He was celebrating getting some good financial news at work, which is great. And so they went out for a meal, and, she was going back and forth on two different things. There was so my daughter's vegetarian, and she was looking at this one thing, and the waiter even told her, like, oh, yeah, absolutely, get that. It's incredible. She's like, should I get this or the veggie burger? And he's like, the other thing. And, like, he almost changed her mind because he led her to the thing she wanted, and she's like, well, F you, I'm going to get the burger then.
Yeah.
And then she did not like it. It was
oh,
like
really?
mushrooms in the burger and, like, beans and stuff, and she found these hard spots. She's like, she ate half of it, brought it home. I don't even know if she ate half, but she brought half home and then, like, reheated it and took, like, a half a bite and threw it away.
Yeah. Just wasn't worth it.
Yeah. I don't do forced boogers either, so I'm with her.
Yeah, I can't. The concept of going vegetarian just hurts my soul because, like, I like vegetables. I eat a lot of vegetables, but that doesn't satiate me in any way, shape, or form.
I like animals too, especially if they're cooked right.
Yes, yes. I'm 100%. I'd be the guy who raised an animal and just called it whatever it was. Like, oh, that's burger, that's bacon, that's ham. Like that'd be the names of the critters.
All right. I was talking to Curcio last night, and so we're hanging out on the deck. And I don't remember the start of the conversation, but me and John like food, so I pull out my phone and I have a folder in my pictures specifically for food. I have different stuff, cigar stuff, manly stuff, this, that, friends, family, food. So I pull up the food and I was like, here, just browse through this. You'll like this, And so I thought I'd get my phone back in a minute. Like, he took his time on every picture.
Like, ooh.
And, like,
ooh.
The amount of respect I got, like, from him looking through that folder was more than I thought I would because John is, like, serious. Like, he smokes.
He's a foodie.
Yeah, dude, he makes some incredible stuff. And so, but the great part is Marcy's, like, looking over his shoulder and, like, she's making faces that, like, I wish my wife would make at me in bed. Like take his no, yeah, I don't need to see that. But they're looking through all my food pictures and stuff that I've made and all these fun faces and reactions, which was cool. Which I need a new smoker, man. I need a new smoker for next year, and unfortunately, just like everything else, I'm like looking at the Big Daddy.
Yeah,
I'm like, okay, I got a year to figure out how I'm going to get this, Pit Boss with, like, the touch screen and the wireless and all the things.
You're going all in on it.
If I'm going to do it, man, like, I want the pellet one that the heat is fed by the pellets too, not just the smoke, the whole thing. And, like, that thing does everything. You grill smoke on it. Like, I don't want to replace my propane one. That's the other thing is you go, like, okay,
propane's nice and easy.
This thing? Yeah. Because I already have, like, the smoker is not even currently underneath of my roof. And this would be like 8 times the size of my current smoker by,
width.
Yeah, width space that it's taken up. But it has like a baffle in it that you could flip the thing, and then it opens up, and then all of a sudden you're searing stuff with it too.
Yeah,
oh, baby, and you could fit a lot of stuff in there. And I'm like, well, I could smoke all kind of stuff in that.
nom 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 nom.
But so that takes me back to we went to it's. If you didn't know, it's pumpkin spice season.
Yes.
Right. So my wife is not a pumpkin spice girl or an Ugg boot girl. What she is a fall festival girl.
Yeah.
She likes the apple picking and the ciders and the pumpkin patches and all those things, and she wants to do as many as possible. So okay. So this weekend was the first one, and out in McDonald, they had what she thought was just a typical fall festival. What it is a Native American festival. It's the annual powwow thing. It's cool. They got like all the Native Americans like doing dances and music in the circle, which is really just them marching with like a couple extra steps in there. That's their dances, and I'm like, I could do that dance.
Yeah, it's easy enough.
And you know, there's a bunch of cool stuff for sale. Most of that stuff's not my gig, but I was like, there's a lot of pelts, and I'm like, you guys are like the only people get away with this. Like, we've done so much bad crap to you that PETA's going to leave you alone because they can't attack you without looking bad. But like pretty much anybody else did this, you'd get just crucified. And so like we go to this one place and there's literally a box full of rabbit pelts. I was like, oh my God, Karen would lose her mind. She would just, it was like all the little mochis in this box.
So how many did you buy?
And so the guy was like, oh, you can have one. To my wife was like, you can just have one, just take one. And she's like, like my daughter will never talk to me again. What I wanted was there was a dude that had, and some of them are cool. Like they've got like these, you know, wood sticks with an antler on the end and horns turned into rattles and stuff. Spears, all kind of weird stuff. There were no good tomahawks. That's what I was in the market for. I was like, I'll buy a tomahawk. But, like, none of them were really genuine. They were kind of just, like, thrown together all, like, the same pre-made handles and not even well-constructed.
Yeah.
But they had wolf pelts. I mean, the whole animals on all of these things. And I mean, like, a 5-foot-long wolf.
Skull in or skull out?
No skull. But that's what I wanted. I was like, just pull it up over my head and just wear that. Like Jon Snow style or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I really want is like
you really are an accessory whore. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, that's fair. I take that.
Yeah.
And I was like, how much, you know? He's like, 300. Well, it's more like 300. And I was like, yeah, okay, cool. Good. Because if it was under 100, I'd be coming home having to explain to my wife and my daughter, and my daughter be packing her crap up and stuff. But I was like, maybe I'll offer 100 on the way out. And we didn't have 100 no more because it's all we took with us. Yeah. We bought food. Dude, there was this food truck. And it's like just this awesome picture on the side. And this is like this. It is just like this little black lady by herself in the food truck. And my son was like, I didn't expect the food to be that good. I'm like, son, we need to get you out in the world because ain't nobody cook like a black lady, man. Nope. Oh, my God. You have no idea, dude. Like, I grew up in the neighborhood, and that's where you wanted to be during, you know, any time, dinner time. I'd be over there. Like, I'd come over with my fork and knife. Like, let's go. You know what I mean? Like, hey, you guys having dinner? I already ate at home, but it wasn't good. My palate needs something on it. But
did you see Shannon's comment?
Tell him about Bigfoot. No. You watched Game of Thrones, did you?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So there's this dude, Native American, of course, but he's a tall man. He's not particularly like large, but he's a tall man. And he's got an animal on his headdress, and he is, every inch of his body is covered in, like, deer hide except for his hands. Like, this guy's got the full get-up on.
Yeah.
Didn't look like the best get-up. Looked like he probably made it himself, but it's better than what I could do.
Yeah.
Didn't interact much with me, but he picked up on Shannon at some point, and she, like, politely listened to everything he had to say without just being like, oh, no, thank you. And he followed her from one end of the festival to the other. And do you remember the first time Tormund saw Lady Brienne?
Oh, yeah.
That's how he was looking at my wife. Like she was a slab of meat. And I was like, he looked at you and was like, she's a breeder.
She's a breeder.
And he was just on her, dude. Like all the way till we went to go get our food, he was just following around. It's like, isn't your teepee back there? Like he was selling stuff. He just like abandoned his stuff
just on
to
his
follow
way.
my wife around. And I'm like, if he wasn't such a weird dude, I might have been worried. You know what I mean? Because I was like, I would have been like a little bit of like, hey, dude, back off. This is my lady and stuff. But I was like, you know, he had a very like Native American Jeffrey Dahmer feel to him.
Nice.
But the eyes he was giving him, I'm just like, the whole time it was like Lady Brienne.
Yeah. Brienne of Tarth.
That one of my favorite moments from that whole show is when Tormund and the Hound are having a conversation, and he's like, "Oh, I've got a lady back at home, and blah 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 blah. And she's this big, beautiful lady," and he's like, "Well, Lady Brienne," and oh yeah, the look in her eyes. Whenever she looks at me, I could tell she feels the same way. And he's like, "You mean?" Because she looks at you like she wants to cut your throat, and he's like, "You do know her. You do know her."
Oh yeah, dude. They're one of the best characters from that show too. He's all every time he opens his mouth, you're like, all right, I'm gonna giggle. Like I'm gonna laugh. And he's never telling a joke. He's just his whole demeanor is fan. It's like the dude from Braveheart. It's my island. You mean Ireland? Yeah, it's mine.
It's mine.
It's mine.
Oh, your mother telling stories about me again, is she? Yeah, dude, like, that was one of the few redeeming qualities of that last season, is super grouping some of these people together that shouldn't have been, that, like, hadn't been the whole time, and seeing them interact. And it was, like, weird that it was a little comedic.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's really...
There was no redeeming factors to that last season. Yeah. There was nothing about that was okay.
As long as you don't, like, watch the last episode... You're like, okay, there's a quality drop here, but there's some cool stuff happening.
Yeah, it's not.
But if you watch the
show.
last episode, like my cousin actually just never watched the last episode because we were working together at the time, and so he'd come to my house after work, and we were watching them, and the job ended before the last episode, so he never saw it, and I was like, just don't. And he's like, okay, and he just never has. So he's like living in this awesome little.
He still
bubble.
thinks Game of Thrones is amazing.
He's like, it's still okay, yeah. But we had. At the time, they were doing promotional liquors. It was a Johnny Walker, I think, was making Game of Thrones scotch.
They did the White Walker. Yep.
Well, there was a couple of them because I had two different ones.
For the it was different brands. Like maybe, White Walker was Johnny Walker.
No, I think there were two different Johnny Walker ones though. So there was like
there was four different bottles.
Okay.
Yeah, Fire and Ice was a different brand. I'm trying to think what that was.
Dude, it was. Only pales in comparison to Star Wars. Like, Star Wars is the only better merchandise thing out there. Like, there was Game of Thrones everything.
Yeah. It was such a good show to begin.
Yeah, instead of, like, they knew their audience, though. Instead of, like, having, like, the high C Ecto 1 juice boxes, you had the Johnny Walkers and Game of Thrones wine and beer. But that was what we did. We had this, like, every time he would come over, we would each take a little pour from that bottle, and we would drink it while we watched the episode for the last season. And so there's still like this much in the bottom of that bottle that was for the two of us to drink on the finale.
On the last
and it's still
episode,
sitting in there, and that bottle represents, you know, his naivety to the last
his
episode.
love of the show,
his ignorance of what it became.
Yeah, such a disaster. It's so bad. Like, you hear people talk about bad endings to shows, and then you watch it, and you're like, no, I see where they were going with it. Like, I can at least accept it. No, this was literally like, oh, all these people got big and have big contracts, and they need out.
Yeah, it was like I'm going to burn this down.
Yep.
You know?
And they just destroyed it.
Yep.
Have you done any of the new stuff from them? The
House of Dragon?
Yeah. I haven't watched any of it yet.
Shannon really likes it. And I will say this, the quality lives up to what you would expect from the production value. The dialogue and the story is not George R.R. Martin worthy the same way the first few seasons of Game of Thrones were. With that being said, you're also, I always talk about like prequels and stuff like that, like you're boxed into a corner. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're working out of a space where you're not going to have a whole lot of surprises in terms of like a full arc. But they've done a relatively good job of building the characters and stuff. But it was a slower burn for me to try to get into.
It seems, all the ads I've seen for it, trailers I've seen for it seems like a Days of Our Lives type dialogue. Like, it's a very Downton Abbey, like that kind of. It's just.
I wouldn't say that, but there's a lot more like inner family stuff, and I mean it gets wild. But with that being said, too, man, it's so confusing in the beginning. The first season, there's like a 10 or there's a couple of big time skips, and which some of the younger characters, the actresses and actors who play them, change. And it's just like, wait, what happened?
Oh,
this lady's
yeah.
a different person now because they couldn't age her up enough. So they started with like a young girl to play this character, and then they had to go to an older girl. Not to mention the fact that everybody has white hair, and everybody's name's almost the effing same. It's always Daenerys or Daenerys or get that
Yeah.
and then Aegon and Ergon and Aegon, and it's like, who the hell is anybody? They all look
Yeah.
the same. You changed the actors. Their names are almost identical. Sometimes the names are the same.
Hold on, I gotta stop you because if you keep going, I have a feeling your wife's gonna call and start screaming at you on the show. She's not happy with us right now. She's not into this.
Stupid.
I'm losing my mind listening to you talk crap on our show.
Here's the thing. I think it's good.
Yeah,
I just don't think it's Game of Thrones.
it's not the same.
And like somebody like Shannon loves it. And I know other people that do too. And I don't dislike it. I'm not saying it's a bad show. It's just, to me, it doesn't quite capture the lightning in the bottle that the other show did for me. But there are a lot of redeeming qualities. Like it's cool to see, some of the stuff in history happen and ancestors of people, and like a lot more dragon stuff, and there's it's really cool whenever two armies, like two different people fighting each other, both have dragons. You get to see
Oh,
how
it's a whole
that
different,
works.
yeah.
It's pretty. So there's like a lot of cool stuff too. But for me, it was definitely, it was not as like immediately like, oh, they pushed a 10-year-old kid out of a 3-story window because he caught the queen banging her
brother, yeah.
Like that, like, oh, snap.
Wow, we're just gonna.
Yeah.
And it's not even that they pushed Bran out the window. It's the fact that he just like casually did it
things
and
I do
went
for
back to
love.
what he was doing.
And you're
Yep.
like, what?
Oh,
Holy crap.
yeah.
It was like, wait, a superhero just ran through a girl and turned her
Yep.
into, atomized her. Dude, that shock value has a lot to make you go like, oh my God.
Yep.
And to be fair, there's incest in this one too.
Yep.
So if that's what you're watching for, hey,
Hey, good to go.
yeah,
You're set
for
up.
Sure. But yeah, it's interesting. So I don't know how we got so deep into that. I know it was a transition on the alcohol,
But it happened.
Stuff, so, what do you got coming up event wise?
So I've got 1781 is going to be on Thursday the 19th.
Okay.
And then the 20th we're going to be. This is not an event for people to attend. I mean, you can get tickets, but the 20th we'll be down at the Best of Pittsburgh party.
you're good.
We'll be finding out how we placed. And then the 21st, I'll be at the Italian Festival in Washington. That's from, it's either 10 or noon till 8 p.m. I can't remember. One of them's my setup time. One of them's the actual start time.
When is that?
Saturday, the 21st.
Saturday the 21st. I work at day. What time is it?
It's, I want to say it's noon to 8 p.m.
Oh, cool. I
down
can
in
come
Washington.
after work. If there's a place you ever wanted to eat, it's an Italian festival.
Yes, 100%.
I'll come get fat.
Yeah.
Let's go.
And then the 29th, I've got my Liberty Pool event, which is our last one. We're going to be at Liberty Pool for the year.
There you go.
And then on the 30th, we've got Ladies' Night here at the shop.
Cool.
So Brittany will be here. She'll be taking care of everybody's.
Probably Ryan Seneca. All the
Most
ladies.
likely.
All the ladies.
All the
you know.
single lady? No.
So Strum Junkies this coming Saturday, the 21st, will be our first show over at the Circle, and that is in Crafton. I will highly encourage you, like a lot of the people that normally come to our stuff have things happening that Saturday and won't be coming out. So we always love it, especially at a new venue, to have people come out and to show them that we could bring a crowd in. And, that's not always the most important thing, but it's nice.
But it does help.
To the business owner who's paying some money to get you in there to bring in some business. It'll be just me and Nick doing the acoustic thing. That's from 6 to 9. It is a non-smoking facility, but they do have an outdoor area that is very nice where you could smoke. They have incredible food, and it's actually a really, really nice bar. That's one of the ones where Shannon and her friends from work will do like a happy hour.
Okay, cool.
Because it's close to their work, and they'll get hang there afterwards. So that's how we discovered that place. It's really cool. Looking forward to playing there for the first time. Again, that's Saturday the 21st from 6 to is it 6 to 9? 7 to 10. I'm sorry, I misspoke before. Not 6 to 9. It's 7 to 10. Then the big one, October 26th. That's a little ways out, but you might want to think about reserving your seats early. We've got the Halloween party at the Leaning House, which is going to be awesome because we've got costume contests. We've got specials on the Monster Smash Tatuaje Monster Series box is going to be there. You got Troy Harper coming in from out of town to hang out with us that whole weekend. We've got the 4-piece full band for the first time, the Strum Junkies. Nick's going to be on the electric guitar. Even Louie and the bass player are like, holy crap, I did not know how good this guy is. Well, yeah, whenever you give him an electric guitar instead of an acoustic, you're going to
He can work with it. Yeah.
His full range of abilities. That's like whenever, you see a race car driver driving around in a Ford Taurus, you're like, okay,
Yeah.
But when you see him in a Porsche, you're like, oh, snap. Like, this guy could do some
Oopsies.
stuff.
Yeah.
So that's going to be super awesome. Costume contest. I talked Louie into making a cigar box guitar to raffle off for the event. It's going to have the poster actually printed on the box. I says, I need you to do this just because I want Troy to maybe be able to win it. So like you have to have it here so that maybe Troy has a chance of luck and he has to figure out how to get this in his carry-on. And
exactly what I was going to ask you.
Exactly. So going to be a super cool weekend. Really looking forward to that. There's only like 35 seats on that deck. So that's why I'm putting it out there now. Anybody that wants to get out there for that one, make your reservations.
But there is plenty of room under the deck, too.
There is. So. And in addition to that, there'll be stuff going on down there, too.
Yeah.
I happen to know that we'll have some friends hanging out down there, keeping everybody busy so that if you want to hang. The other cool thing about the underdeck is they have the camera functioning again. So they have a TV down there with a camera pointing at stage so you could actually watch us from the underdeck. If you couldn't get a seat, there's comfortable furniture down there, and you're sitting right underneath of us. So, like, it's almost the exact same audio experience as you would get from above. So, it's super cool to hang down there as well.
Yeah, me personally, I like listening to the bands down there.
Yeah,
because I'm not a concert goer. I don't want to be bombarded with all of it, But being downstairs, you can still have a conversation with somebody if you need to, but you can hear the music.
It's
very well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great time, and it's a cool environment too.
Yeah,
a lot of effort put into down there, and it's a pretty badass place to hang out as well.
Yeah, it's a cool spot.
Next week you can hang out with us. We'll be smoking something from Wayne House. We didn't pick one, but I've got it. We'll do.
Yeah.
Same the thing.
Salud.